On the 26th of April 1986, near the city of Pripyat in Ukraine, a disastrous catastrophe had taken place. The reactor Unit 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant had broken down, which led to its explosion and subsequently to radioactive contamination of the vast area. In a short period of time, over 350,000 people were evacuated and resettled. A restricted zone was designated around this power plant, which extends to many kilometers. All buildings within this zone, including the surrounding city, were abandoned. At the beginning of February 1987, 9 months after the disaster, a team of scientists from the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, which measured radiation in this exclusion zone, received signals that proved the existence of people operating in this area. Also, various unexplained anomalies had been discovered, which could have resulted from a type of radiation previously unknown to scientists. It turned out that near the city of Pripyat, the S.W.A.N Institute was also located here. Its name comes from the abbreviation Syndrome Without a Name, the term given to the group of symptoms that do not occur in any known and catalogued disease. The facility was unofficially conducting a research program on unprecedented and very disturbing neurological and psychological disorders for many years. After the disaster, the institute was omitted during the evacuation operation because it was not included on any map. Only a few people from the USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs knew about its existence, but after the Chernobyl accident, they chose not to perform rescue operations on its territory. Scientists received details regarding the institute's scope of activity from an anonymous person. The facility was top secret and cut off from the rest of the world. People were sent there from all over the globe, and each medical case was unique in its own way. Because of the extraordinary abilities resulting from unexplored and undiagnosed diseases, patients were a threat to the environment. They were caged up and lived in strict isolation. This entire situation was kept secret from people outside the government, other than the few scientists who were made aware of the institute's activities. Scientists from the Moscow Institute, experts from the General Nuclear Inspectorate of Ukraine, and the rescue staff decided to send a special research and rescue expedition immediately to clarify the source of the anomalies and to save people who might still be alive. The group was commanded by Alexei Tokovsky, a rescue specialist. After determining the exact coordinates of the facility, the group reached the place and got inside. However, all people were separated and lost contact with each other in unexplained circumstances. To all the people whose life changed irreversibly after the events of April 1986 in Chernobyl.
Her medical case was exciting and nightmarish at the same time. 1. I have no idea why, but this monotonous and seemingly funny melody made this woman appear from practically nowhere. 3. It is a contrast of sorts. How a completely innocent sound was a foretelling or an omen of the atrocity to come. 9. Horrifying beauty. 4. For some time now, the dimensions have been increasing. It is time to end this. Luckily, we were able to finish the mind reader prototype. Connecting it to a human brain was troublesome at first, but the procedure gives expected results, and the device can be used after entering the intermediary room. Something incredible was achieved here, something gargantuan. First there was Gagarin, and the first man travels into space. And now we are also multidimensional travelers. If only the world could hear about this.
I am an entity born from experiments that had been taking place in this institute. Those who had witnessed my creation called me the S.W.A.N phenomenon. I developed my own consciousness, and I exist trapped between reality and abstract space-time. I was never a regular person, even though I vividly remember the time when I lived free as a human. My condition was incredibly difficult, and no medical doctor could help me. The symptoms increased to such a point, I was becoming a danger to myself and my surroundings. I then got rejected by my family and persecuted by various people. They tried to kill me. One day, I received a message from a professor who said he was familiar with my case and thought he could try to help me. He claimed to be the founder and director of a specialist facility for people with rare, unknown and dangerous ailments. I was supposed to be put to various tests and undertake experimental treatment methods. Yes, Professor Andrei Kaidanovsky. I saw you getting into his office. Even his notes speak of what despicable man he is. Departure for the Institute was a blessing to me, an escape from a life full of suffering and becoming sicker by the day. Only here was I given a glimpse of hope, a slight shadow of a chance for a cure. For the first time, someone had reached out a helping hand. When I met Kaidanovsky, he was extremely kind-hearted, promising his full involvement in my conditions research and attempts to bring me back to full health. Everything changed when the research has started. I very quickly realized that something else was the main objective here, but it was too late to back out. People like me got locked up in here and were kept by force. They were used for research on obtaining and isolating the so-called S.W.A.N factor for the Soviet Army's needs, apparently. It is a factor present in anybody infected with the S.W.A.N type disease. It makes them unique and grants special abilities, not necessarily good ones. According to the professor, due to the incredible power of my symptoms, I was a great potential source. At the same time, the level of complexity of my illness was extremely high. Experimental methods used by Kaidanovsky did nothing. It frustrated him greatly, triggered some inhuman instincts, even drove him mad. He'd work on my case for hours. I was not indifferent to that. I was suffering and feeling inhuman pain. Thanks to the power of all the devices constructed especially for me, the factor had finally left my body by itself. It divided into two separate entities, light and shadow. I am the shadow entity. You could say that the original me died. However, my consciousness keeps on living in those two elements separated by the factor. At this moment, I have to warn you. The portal you've located, thanks to the Mind Reader, did not appear for no reason. Mind Reader was created in this institute to find those portals and destroy the dimensions they lead to. But for the portal to form and the creator to be able to walk through it, something terrifying is required. If you have special abilities, it is possible to possess a person's life essence through murder and modify space-time to a point. The existence of each portal means somebody's death. Portal's creation destabilizes your human reality. Changes happening in parallel dimensions are starting to have a destructive impact on this world. This is why they have to be destroyed as soon as possible. It is not possible to determine what can happen exactly, but any disturbance to the space-time continuum structure may have terrifying consequences for the whole mankind. It is not to be excluded. After my incident, various tragedies started happening in the Institute. Someone or something started to wreak havoc in here. Chaos took away many lives and new portals were created. It is a lie that the patients did this, although it is most likely what you will read in the staff's notes. I believe it is something much more powerful, some unknown force. This is why the Institute's personnel was trying to fight it so frantically, constructing the mind reader in the process. You shall find out in due time, as I'm sure we'll meet again. In a moment, you will enter the so-called intermediary room. It is a place between the human world and the extra-dimensional one. That's where you get to the memory wasteland, one of the parallel dimensions. That's where the dimension's creator's thoughts are stored and form the foundation for the dimension's existence. When you destroy them, you return to the Institute, and the dimension ceases to exist. Maybe you'll find more portals when you explore the corridors. Remember, each of them means somebody's death.